Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning from wherever you are, and welcome to the Wrestling Roundtable, where we are going to be talking this week about AEW versus WWE and what is the future of wrestling. Some very exciting developments in the world of wrestling. We will, of course, also be talking about Daphne, who tragically passed away this week. Now, I can't do this alone. So, with me, I need my guests. And joining me, I have Mr. D. Hosea 101, and
Yo,
of course, living on the edge superstar.
Hello.
However, this stream would not be complete without a very special guest. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the one, the only, the podcast legend, Joe Rogan. Woo! There he is, ladies
hello, freak bitches.
Story. Hi,
So,
Joe.
what's today's topics, guys?
How are you feeling, mate? You're looking good. Bit different. Did you get a haircut?
Well, I did have COVID for a total of 3 days. I threw everything at it, including evectomy, and all that's left me is just feeling a little hoarse.
Well, you know what? It's fine as long as you don't have COVID, mate. That's the main thing. You know. So, now that we have our esteemed guest, I say we crack on with it because there's going to be quite a lot to talk about, and because it's a panel of four, I'm pretty sure we're going to be taking up a lot of time on some subjects.
Wait a
So,
minute, why is it professional wrestling? I hate
sorry.
professional wrestling, or at least I used to hate it until I learned that I could suck Dwayne Johnson's dick on social media for views.
I don't make the changes here, mate. You know what I mean? Right. So we're going to be talking about first of all some pretty interesting developments. Unless if you're a wrestling fan, delicious. You're not living under a rock. You would have seen all the developments that have been happening with wrestling over the last couple of weeks, and how the momentum seems to be shifting. So obviously, as you're aware, AEW made the big dick move and they signed CM Punk. They're also getting in Daniel Bryan and possibly Adam Cole. Well, not possibly. That's likely. Now that's a big trio right there. That's a good trio to kind of carry a company moving forward. On the flip side of the spectrum, we have WWE that continues to do mass layoffs. They're not growing, they're losing viewers. Exactly. They're losing creatively, they are abysmal. And the ultimate icing on the cake is NXT has now been taken over by Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard because reasons. That being said, we are going to actually first talk about NXT quickly and it being taken over. And I want to take it over to Jose. Your thoughts on what's going to happen to NXT moving forward? Says it all.
Yeah, the days of fans saying, "Oh yeah, Vince will never touch NXT. That won't happen. Oh, it's going to be forever Triple H, baby." Yeah. I knew this was coming years ago when Kevin Owens got to NXT and he came to the main roster and beat the shit out of John Cena. I'm like, there's going to come a time where Vince will come in and he will proceed to fuck everything up. And I think September 14th is the day the new NXT starts. The day that they change the lighting, they change the graphic, they change the format. Word is that Triple H and Shawn are going to be doing the storylines, but Vince and Beaver Boy and fucking Pritchard are going to be taking over the production and the big picture, which means that NXT is going to be pretty much fuck all. It's going to be another extension of Monday Night Raw. Sucks. But it was fun while it lasted.
Agreed. It was fun while it lasted. It won't be long until Vince and his slimy little hands start making creative decisions, and Triple H gets more and more pushed aside as time goes on. Joe Rogan, what are your thoughts?
Well, let me just say, I went and discussed this in great detail with my good buddy Alex Jones while we were sharing a few pot brownies, a couple of other edibles, and this NXT, this crap, was trying to move into the UFC territory. It was trying to be too more realistic, like MMA, and obviously it backfired because people want the real MMA. They want the UFC, and that's why this promotion has gone down the toilet. It's why Vince McMahon is going back to his fake bullshit wrestling that all he knows and all he cares about. So that's my thought on that. The UFC triumphs yet again. Fuck pro wrestling.
Well, I've got to say, there's no horsing around with you. Living on the Edge Superstar, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm with Jose on this one. I we all knew that Vince couldn't keep his hands from fucking this up, and he has fucked this up. I mean, the thing is that, we had Shinsuke Nakamura, we had Samoa Joe, we've had Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Sami Zayn, Neville. But how many? But I'm gonna ask a question, guys, and this is not a trick question. This is good. How many guys were big down in NXT? Big stars putting on really great matches, but as soon as they went on to Raw or SmackDown, whichever it was, they didn't go anywhere, or the matches they put on were poor. It's because the way that they design the matches in NXT aren't the ways that they're designed in WWE. If you get me.
What do you mean stars? The only stars that WWE have been Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey.
Well, I'll say this. It's like, I get why they're going to do what they do, because pro wrestling is supposed to be about building larger-than-life characters. So in a sense, I get that. But you're closing off completely from the indie scene. Not something I would totally recommend. I think you need to have a variety for everybody. You can't just cater to one portion of an audience. You have to have something for everybody. And in relation to your question, Boss Man, I think that's happened to a majority of guys. I can think of maybe a couple guys that have come up from NXT and done all right for themselves. Kevin Owens being one of them. He's done okay. Shinsuke, he's kind of floundered. Samoa Joe, same thing. Most of their NXT call-ups have been kind of but hopefully, and I say this with very little faith, hopefully NXT goes back to being what it's supposed to be. Hopefully it goes back to being a developmental system the way it's supposed to be, instead of an indie-fed kind of thing like it's been these past 5-6 years. But we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I think one of the problems as well we have with NXT moving forward is if they insist on not grabbing people from the indie scene and just developing purely their own products, like this willingness for just exclusivity, is you're just going to get the same. Because the thing with WWE, why I don't watch it, is every match you can call down to a T what's going to happen. The 3 to 4 to 5 signature moves that every wrestler has, to the kind of finishes you're going to get. And you just know it's just so predictable that the style of match you're going to get. So, for example, and I love Cesaro, but a match of his came up, and I'm like, I guarantee you he's going to do European uppercuts. He's going to do his little neck break thing. He's going to do the little swing around thing. He's going to do his little finisher. And you're going to get that every match at the exact same point in time. Like a few minutes in, he'll do this. A few minutes in, he'll do that. And that's the problem with WWE. There's the unpredictability is so rare. It's what made NXT great. Apart from that every time there are going to be 20 kickouts in a match. That was always my biggest negative. Yeah, but the matches were always superb.
And not just that too. It's the format of WWE. We'll start off the show with a 20-minute promo, then we'll make a few-minute match. Then, it'll be end in a DQ or no contest. Then, a wrestler runs down with their entrance music. Impromptu tag team match play-up. Holla, holla, holla. And it's like things have got to change. You have to change up your format, too. And that's another thing that I fear for NXT is that they're going to fuck their format up.
But yeah. the problem is that the thing that the promos are written, they're not given by the actual talent. And if they're actually given by the actual talent, there's some talent in there that could actually do. Like Drew McIntyre is a better talker than people give him credit for, because all he's doing is having to learn writers. Because if he goes off script, he's going to get shouted at. But we saw the times he actually went off script that he has talent for going off script. And there's guys on the actual roster who can go off script and do really good promos. It's just that they're giving scripts written where, no offense to who's writing this stuff. Again, the thing about wrestling, it should be an extension of your own persona. I think is, could you imagine somebody trying to write a promo for yourself? It would sound just like you. You like, this is somebody trying to sound like how I'm supposed to sound. Again, nobody's going to sound good.
That's sorry to interrupt, but that's the other problem. All the promos sound the same. Everyone's sounding the same. There's no like, whoa, kind of moment anymore. You just, it's just everything's controlled, because as Vince gets older, he wants more and more things to be as predictable as possible, because random changes scare the shit out of old people, and he is no exception.
And
he wanted more and more. As you can see, as the years went by, he wanted more and more control of the product, more scripted, more predictable for him, more about what he likes and what he knows is going to happen. And any deviation from that, and you've seen the consequences.
And you want to know what it also is too? The ultimate number one thing: fuck you, we got our money. That's do what they do. Fuck you, give me money. Fuck you, we got money. And the thing is too, people are saying, oh, WWE, they're making more money now than they ever have. People need to remember this. Those deals that they have now are pre-existing. We have to remember the next time that these deals come up, they may not get as much money as they have now. USA and Fox may look in and say, okay, you know what? We want this product to be this way. You're not changing it. We may re-up your contract, but it's going to be for less money.
Yep.
It's got to change. You have to change up everything. Yep. Style has to change. The format.
And the thing that falls there, this is why, again, it coincides with all the cuts WWE are making, because they want to make sure when the new deals come along, because they can see the decline, that they get a similar amount of money, even though let's say it's not going to be 4 billion, it'll be 3 billion, but with all the cuts, it's going to balance itself out so the stockholders can keep their kind of profits. I mean, that's what I would hedge as my guess, because that's what happens with a lot of companies. Vince can't understand why the company's in free fall, because he's a complete control freak, and he's like fucking Nero while Rome is burning, and he's sitting there jerking off to some fucking catalog of models. And this is what's going to happen when the deals run out. They're going to gear up and sell it. They're going to sell it. This is where it's all leading to. Rogan, you got anything to add?
Yeah, well, you're talking about guys having natural personalities, charisma, talking off the cuff. It sounds like you're talking about ripping off the Ultimate Fighter. Now, if that's the case, you guys better let me know now, because I've got Dana White's phone number on speed dial, and he'll sue each and every one of your asses. And who cares about what the pay-per-view numbers are for WWE when more than 1 million people are watching me do color commentary for the UFC every goddamn pay-per-view?
You know what? I think you might need to try some DMT, mate. You look a bit wild.
So ketamine or something, I don't know. Ketamine.
Yes. Okay. So obviously, as we're talking about the fate of NXT, and then we've just talked about money, which brings me on to another thing. There's been another load of cuts and releases by the WWE this week. They have basically seized their Japanese division. They've closed it down. And yes, Jose, yes, they just laid off about 100 people working in the Japanese division, as they are halting expansions into the Japanese market.
Wait.
Were they connected to the Yakuza like Pride?
They had a Japanese division.
Yes.
This is the first I'm fucking hearing of this.
Yeah, no, well, it falls under the thing where they went through that period a couple of years ago where they were going to expand aggressively.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then, obviously with NXT UK, I think they want to do NXT Germany, Australia, and Japan.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Yeah, well, because of COVID, obviously that's been put on ice.
Yeah.
But I will say one thing. I'm so happy they've done that, because it halts their intended monopoly on wrestling, which we all know monopolies just aren't good.
What are you talking about? Monopolies are great. Look at what Dana White's doing with the UFC. He's going to be happily in MMA. The business is thriving.
Bellator is coming for your ass, Joe. Bellator is coming for your ass. You better look out. I'm telling you.
Oh, they're going to get nowhere near my ass.
On there. So they mean business.
Okay, so they cut their Japanese division, and I know they also said they switched catering companies too, which is like, oh man, they're cutting down on catering or switching up to the cheapest company.
It's WWE in the 90s. Only this time they actually.
I mean, the thing is, you look at the people they've let go. Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt. It's guys that basically, were on high-price contracts, and basically they let them go just to save money on it. The thing is that, and plus the thing is that they've annoyed so many people who work for them. Like, I mean, they've annoyed they've annoyed Adam Cole so much the fact that he wants to piss off to AEW. They've annoyed Daniel Bryan. Sorry, Bryan Danielson so much that he wants to go to AEW. They annoyed CM Punk so much that he went to AEW. So
he went to the UFC first, and he bombed there. He's going to bomb in AEW too.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Don't you worry, mate.
But the thing is that, I said I was going to bring this up. I'll bring it up now. That abomination that was the Nia Jax, whatever you want, Charlotte Flair. That has to be the biggest. We want you to go to AEW I've ever seen in my life to Charlotte Flair. It's like your husband's over there, or whatever it is, her fiance, and her dad's probably going to go up there. She's going to be going. I mean, the biggest fascist side post I've ever seen in my life is let's beat our champion on the very first match she has by this. Again, I'm not saying of Nia Jax. I'm sure she's a very lovely lady, but as a wrestler, she cannot work shit.
Yeah.
She's
seven shades of green.
Yeah, this has been a problem with her though for years. People are getting outraged now. I'm like, where the fuck were you like 5-6 years ago when this bitch started doing this shit? Because she cannot work safely for shit. She can't. And with Charlotte, Ric Flair thinks that Charlotte may never leave WWE. I'm like, never say never, Rick. I mean, money talks. And if Tony wants to throw enough money, depending on when Charlotte's contract is up, could be another couple years, could be 5 years for all we know. Charlotte could be going to AEW. I mean, Andrade's there. Her dad is probably going to be on his way over there. The Horsemen are. There are advantages to going to AEW.
Oh, look, speaking of Horsemen, yes, we have one of them here.
Yeah, we do.
BoJack Horseman.
The BoJack Horseman.
but yeah, I mean.
Go on.
So everybody on this call has actually watched the Nia Jax Open and Charlotte match for Monday.
I can't get those 20 minutes back. Damn you!
It was 12 minutes. But anyway, that 12-minute match where basically Nia Jax basically threw on her head, but almost paralyzing the poor lady, and then that Samoa drop she gave her. And what the hell was that finish? She gets her up for a powerbomb, and then in the middle of the powerbomb, looks like she chokes on Spinebuster.
You're also glossing over the potato spots that they had in that match because they were about to get ready to throw hands for real. I saw a crispy 3-piece combo for $5.99. Only seeing WWE.
I'm surprised they just didn't come to blows in the end. I think when she got dropped on her head, that was it.
Yeah, they had
Charlotte was just like,
even see it making
this stupid, useless wrestler. I'm so done with it, and
Hey,
let her have it.
Is Nia Jax Fallon Fox with an extra 100 pounds?
Oh God. So yeah, Charlotte. Now, with regards to Charlotte, she's a little bit of a diva. Let's be honest. Very like. The minute she's out of the picture, she starts kicking up a fuss and all this kind of stuff. So the problem with her, she does have a bit of a temperament from what you read. Now, I reckon she will go to AEW. She'll be there. She'll be there. Make sure you get a nice big one down there. She'll go there because Andrade's there. Whether her dad's there or not, it's not relevant. I think it's more being close to her fiance. more than anything.
Well, I can't comment on her husband or fiance or whatever he is until I hear back from Tim Pool and Stephen Molyneux and all the other white nationalists I talk to on a regular basis. So I can't really talk much there.
No, you really can't talk much there. No, because of all the horses and stuff. I can barely hear your mic sometimes. It's getting a bit distorted. I'm getting an echo from someone.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's Gary.
No, I've got headphones on.
Oh, I don't know then. All right, no worries. Right. So, with that being said, so if we do get Charlotte going to actually before we go into there, what would be the fate of NXT UK? What do you guys reckon?
Kill it and kill it now. Let it die.
Dumped. It's getting dumped.
Joe, what do you reckon? Do you think they were going to go to UFC?
Oh, who the fuck cares? It's not UFC. Who gives a damn if they close it down or not? What the fuck can British guys do anyway? Bunch of pansies.
they have tea and scones and then punch each other in the face.
Yeah, I don't care what they do with I don't care what they do with NXT UK. I don't see Triple H even. I don't see Triple H honestly even staying in charge of NXT or having any say at all as time passes. I mean, people are like, "Well, he's writing the storylines." I'm like, how long until Vince takes over that shit too? Because if Vince is doing production, you know he's going to take everything over, and it's going to be another extension of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I think they're just going to bring over Walter to WWE, and they're going to shut down NXT UK. They're going to bring a handful of wrestlers over to WWE, and I reckon within the next year, NXT UK is going to go. Oh, fun fact: their training facilities just a 2-minute drive from my house.
People say I'm a naysayer.
I've seen what's his name, Tyler Bates, and 2 other guys. I forget their bloody names.
Well, have you heard that apparently what Volta's possible name could be coming up to the main roster?
Walter.
No. It's something like Villia Vida or something like that.
Don't care. I just don't watch WWE enough to give a shit what they do. It's interesting from just looking at it from the outside perspective to see the train wreck that is happening. But yeah, they give him a stupid name. We wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they've what's next? They're going to turn Karrion Kross into Karrion fucking Circle or some stupid shit like that. He'll be gone soon as well, I reckon.
Well, wearing that bloody scalp, I won't blame him to want to go to the ocean.
Fucking I thought I was watching an episode of Mad Max. Right, so with that being said, with the absolute car crash that is WWE, and I think we're all pretty sure that they're going to sell the bloody company. I mean, Nick Khan in his interview, he just literally said, what did he say? He says, they're a business and they're open discussion, i.e., we're selling it. We're open for, and that being said, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm like, why don't I test the waters and see? Because, he's got his daddy's bank account, he's got unlimited money, so it might be worth prodding to see, I
know who's taking it. If nobody else is taking it, the mouse. The mouse will.
Yeah. The mouse will take it, and then it's just going to be musical numbers with no chair shots. And that's all it's going to be.
Fertitta Brothers and Dana White can put a bid in and just shut it all down, since it's all a bunch of bullshit.
It's a bunch of shitty ballet, eh? Is that what it is, Joe?
Damn right.
Yeah, I thought so. If I was Amazon, I'd swoop in and grab it. But likely NBC will probably just buy it. I mean, they got the streaming service, which they've absolutely butchered, apparently. So I reckon they're just going to flog it off to NBC. Now, that being said, we move on to AEW. And they seem to have all the momentum. All the momentum. They literally... Can we just go back in the past where we were watching car crash after car crash with their shitty gimmick matches and that exploding ring and the thumbtacks and all this stuff, and everyone was like, that's it, they're fucked, there's no coming back from here. And then all of a sudden cuts just a few months down the line, and here we are. We're talking about AEW in a positive light. We are talking about CM Punk. We're talking about Bryan Danielson. We're possibly talking about Adam Cole and maybe even Charlotte.
The only reason we're talking about CM Punk is the fact he's now finally retired from mixed martial arts. What a waste that was. Again, he bombed in the UFC because he's got no fucking talent. He's going to bomb in AEW too.
Listen, if you carry on, I'm going to send Jake Hager after you. He's undefeated.
Yeah, who'd he beat? Tomato cans.
He's undefeated. Right. So, that being said, so obviously, now, yeah, they have it, but of course, there's still a lot of work to do at AEW. Let's not beat around the. It's still a shit show to watch. Still more entertaining than WWE. You know, it harkens to the Cinderella film I just watched that Amazon released, which it's so bad you can't stop watching it. And that's what AEW is. That being said, with the acquisition of 3 phenomenal individuals, plus the addition of Malachi Black, Miro is actually starting to get a bit better as well, but I wouldn't put him up on those echelons, I'm just saying. But with a roster starting to build and swell up, and obviously they should split it now that they have 2 shows, or 3 shows really. They have to change a lot of things. They have to get a proper booker in. They have to shift focus away from the elite and just really just take this momentum, put the creative side of it into the hands of CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole, and let them take the reins to guide the younger roster to a proper good feuds, proper good matches. Because at the moment, that really talented young roster, I feel, is still stuck in mediocre booking. So, Jose, what are your thoughts on AEW's momentum at the moment?
Well, people ain't gonna like this, but we need to stop having amazing matches on their TV shows every single week. We need to quit having pay-per-view quality matches on TV. When every single match is like, okay, yeah, you got guys doing matches and moves and a pile driver, and then a guy kicks out of it, and that's not the finish. You can do like a match and move kind of thing every once in a while, but when almost all your matches are like that, it takes away from the product. Everybody feels the same. We need to have AEW be more of a story-based product, like the CM Punk interview with JR that they did just, I think, last night or a couple nights before was great, where it gave you that big fight feel of CM Punk versus Darby Allin, like, oh, shit, after 7 years, I have to see CM Punk and see how he holds up. You know, CM Punk versus Darby Allin is easily one of, if not AEW's biggest match this year that they've had. Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, coming in, fantastic. That's going to be their Kurt Angle signing. I'm calling it now. The best signing that they will have in their existence. Also, a name we forgot to mention. What if Bray shows up? I mean, Bray's in the Yep. If Bray shows up, Adam Cole, he wanted control over his Twitch channel. WWE's like, fuck you. And it's like, all right, well, fuck y'all. I'm going to AEW where I know I can be me and have kick-ass matches and whatnot. I mean, the thing is, though, you almost have to wonder with all this roster, is it a bit too much, if you know what I mean? Is it too much coming in at one time? That's one thing. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's great that you're having all these guys, but spread this shit out. Don't have all these guys come within the same year. I think Danielson should be their last big guy of 2021. And then Adam Cole, you can save him for either the end of the year or bring him in, you know, next year. You know,
at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah. Make
not all out, but yeah, bring him in at the pay-per-view after that.
Yeah, make people pay to see Adam Cole, because you don't want to overload your fans and your roster with like surprise, because TNA did that. And then they ended up fucking around, and now they're on a channel that hardly anyone can get, and they can barely get the views on Twitch. And with AEW, yeah, they have unlimited money, but you have to grow a casual audience. I get that you want smart marks to watch your show. You want Matches and Move fans to watch your show, but casuals are the lifeblood of pro wrestling, the casuals. You want 5-year-old Jimmy and Timmy watching AEW, so they could go to school and tell all their friends about it, and so forth. You want it to be water cooler talk at work. You want to be able to go to work and say, yo, man, did you see what CM Punk did last night? Or did you see what Danielson did last night? You got to have stories. You got to have compelling characters. You got to have a great roster mix of, these veterans that can still go, but with the young guys that'll carry AEW into the next 15 years. It's a combination of things that you got to have. And if AEW gets it right, then I think they're going to kick ass and, definitely make noise to Vince McMahon, which he won't like it. But that's what we need. We need noise. We need a fight. We need competition. When companies fight, we win. That's how.
Agreed.
No, bro, don't insult me by calling these pay-per-view matches. What you need is people paying $60 and watching Conor McGregor knock out Jose Aldo with one punch. You need people paying $60 to watch Ronda Rousey getting her jaw dislocated in HD in the first fucking round. That's a pay-per-view match, bro.
Well, I can't argue against that. That's for sure.
But I agree with a lot of what Jose just said. I would say that I'm enjoying the moment at the moment because it seems like we're getting much less of guys who shouldn't be in the wrestling business. Much less of the Markle stunts. We've still got Orange Cassidy's, which fine, we'll have to live with that particular thing, but they're doing much less of the bullshitty. We'll have a teleport in, Matt Hardy, because Matt Hardy seems to have dropped the whole, broken Matt thing, and he's now just doing, Matt Hardy, the veteran thing. I think what they should do is bring the veterans in to help, school these young guys, how to build a match and stuff like that. And I think having Darby Allin, having Sting around with him, because Sting, did that promo that he did with CM Punk this week, which was phenomenal. I thought that was really great. In which they put each other over, but they'll still
No, dude, this is what you need to sell pay-per-views. Randy fucking Couture.
He retired ages ago. Let it go. He's not coming back.
He's Captain America.
Anyway, so
I want to suck your dick so bad, Randy.
And we've just been demonetized. Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
But what AEW needs to compete is to sort out two divisions. They need to sort out their tag division, and they need to sort out their women's division, because their women's division is pretty poor. Right. Especially when you've got on WWE side, you've got Rhea Ripley, you've got Sasha Banks, you've got Bianca Belair, you've got Becky Lynch, you got all these great female wrestlers. But the thing is that WWE has done one thing, has majorly fucked up recently. I know we shouldn't be going over like this, but basically when they turned Becky Lynch heel and basically had to beat Bianca Belair in 2 seconds with a flaming rock bottom, and then they had that recent thing with flaming Nia Jax. AEW has a perfect opportunity to improve their women's division and do well.
So on that, whilst Rogan is munching on Randy Couture, one of the things you obviously brought up the women's division and you brought up the tag division, which are very important two things, because this is the other thing with such big renowned names coming into AEW. I honestly do not see the point of the Elite anymore. They have had zero impact other than a negative one on the company. Momentum was with them at the start, and they were needed in AEW to get things going because they had momentum. But once they were in and they were given creative control, what have they done? Kenny Omega has butchered the women's division. The Young Bucks have absolutely butchered the tag team division. They bring in big names and then they get themselves over and they bury other names. Like, what the fuck is FTR doing? All right. So they come on playing bloody basketball and pissing about like that. And that was just, they do the most cringy things. And they've just glorified acrobats. That's it. They don't actually know wrestling. They don't know the psychology of wrestling, the story of wrestling. They just think, I'm going to do a bunch of flips. And that'll do. And Cody Rhodes is quite frankly the number one most cringeworthy person in wrestling at the moment. Coming out with a massive entourage, like he's some kind of demigod or demo god. Get to Jericho in a minute. All right, coming out like he's some kind of demigod, cutting promos, declaring to have ended racism because he busted a nut inside Brandy and had a mixed race baby, like he's the first person in history to do that. These are your VPs and your EVPs. They have brought nothing but salt and cringe. And moving forward, if I'm Tony Khan, I'll just say to him, listen, get fucking serious or you're gone. Because they're the ones that are going to hold that company back. Yeah, that's my thought. What aid and they have a big roster. They do need to start getting rid of your Jelly Janellas and your Jack fucking what's his bloody name and
Evans.
Jack Evans and
get rid of CM Punk, that loser.
Yeah, get rid of CM Punk. So don't need him. Never draws in any ratings. Never brought me back into wrestling.
Yeah, he doesn't draw. He doesn't move the needle.
Yeah.
He's on 2 in UFC, bro.
Failed in UFC and he'll fail in AEW. And well, also there's the prospect of his wife AJ Lee coming in as well. And she's another one that will be fantastic for that roster. So yeah, those are my thoughts on AEW. Anyone else want to say anything? Joe?
No, nothing really to say. Again, this is more bullshit wrestling. You're getting UFC knockout. You're getting UFC failures like CM Punk. Christ, why do you people tune in? He couldn't even beat fucking Mickey Gall.
Wrestling.
I mean, I think he's going to do against guys like Darby Allin.
Wrestling is basically ballet for men. Okay, that's what it is. And if you don't like it, go.
No, it's ballet for soy boys. That's what Paul Joseph Watson told me when he was on my podcast.
Ah, yes, the philosopher and renowned thing, PJW. Gotta love him. Gary.
Okay. But yeah, AEW needs to improve though. I think that we all think that, and I think that Tony Khan should be the booker. It should be somebody who's like well respected in the business. I mean, you got for heaven's sake, you got Arn Anderson, you got Tully Blanchard, you might get Ric Flair in. You got Sting, you got people who've actually made real money. You get one of them to book it.
Yeah,
for heaven's. I get them to say that this is what we do. This is the direction we've gone. I mean, God, you
get Scott Coker, get Dana White.
Get Dana White in. See if he can book it better than Tony Khan. Jose.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
I think as long as AEW keeps doing what they're doing, they're going to be okay, but they're never going to get past a certain level. That's kind of my thoughts. If you don't change, you're never going to grow. You got to get more casuals in. I get catering to hardcores. I get catering to the smart marks, but
you get more casuals in with Captain America here.
Yes, exactly. More casuals like him. And yes,
those guys aren't going to be the light of AEW. You want more of the younger fans. You want more of, you want to expand your business and get as much people talking about AEW.
Yeah, and I think the best way to do that is not so much the controversies that surround it, but you got to hit your marketing a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
The product obviously is in dire need of improvement. Yes, but we've talked about the bookings and things like that. But wrestling is, I think like the next generation is like the last generation to watch wrestling. After that, it's going to be on its knees. But the thing is,
because we're all going to the UFC, bro.
Well, that's where everyone will end up going. They'll go to the UFC. So you're right there, Joe. I'll give you that, you bastard. But the thing is, you don't want to lower it to the levels of indie wrestling where it's just mediocrity that is actually putting people off, and you're only keeping the marks around. What you want is a product that it's for the 21st century. It encompasses social media a lot more in terms of output and rivalries and things like that. and just brings in a younger generation where you could do snappier cuts of videos online with matches and you know brawls and all this kind of thing, because that's how you're going to generate in the next audience. You're going to be like, holy shit, what's all this kind of craziness that's going on? Why don't I go watch the main thing? And then you kind of keep that momentum going. But what's happening at the moment, they've got AEW Dark, which is just basically mediocre AEW Dynamite, and their online activity is very blasé, very boring.
How about this novel concept? Every match in a cage, everybody enters the ring wearing tap-out T-shirts.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much John Moxley's fetish right there. Cage matches and street brawls and barbed wires and, you know, and then him.
But I will say the one thing that AEW has done really right, and is going to go towards just the casual fan, is everything they've done with CM Punk so far. You know, from his debut, just having him go up there, cut promo, having him just drop the GTS and some nameless person just drop it, and it was just great to do. You know, they've done everything perfectly. And to the point that I can't think of how it could have been improved, and that is because usually we like to armchair quarterback a little bit when it comes to these booking decisions. But everything with CM Punk has been done brilliantly, and Malachi Black's been done brilliantly with his. Oh.
No, I agree. Malachi Black has been done really, really well. Miro, I feel, is starting to get better. His promos are a lot better. I mean, was just the promo of you know, what was it he said about his wife, a bendy wife or something like that, flexible wife and God's chosen, you know, something like that, and that was brilliant. The matches have been pretty okay. He's still not like the most fun wrestler, but the stuff they've done with CM Punk, that's the momentum you need to take. You need to be like, right, now we're a serious product here. Now we're going to take this guy who is phenomenal, okay, and we're bringing in somebody who's one of the best in the world, and we're gonna bring everyone else up to that level rather than go back down to the mediocre, silly, gimmicky shit. Sorry, go on, David.
And here's the thing, too. You know, Punk, he's your mouthpiece. He's the dude that you use to get everybody that you can. He's that guy because that's how great he talks. He's the kind of dude that can get casuals, he can get smart marks, he can get hardcores, he can get fans like us that don't give a shit about wrestling, haven't watched wrestling in years. Punk is that dude. And soon enough, I think Brian's also going to be that guy.
Yeah.
So I just want to say for a moment, The Rock liked one of my posts on Instagram. I like wrestling again.
Yay! Welcome on board, Joe. Go smoke some DMT. Right. What was I going to say? What was that? CM Punk bring up to the level. No, it's gone. I had something, but it's gone. Well, I think okay. That pretty much covers it. Obviously, now, is there anything else people want to talk about apart from the one subject we're yet to discuss yet?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of anything else that's happened in the wrestling world. Well, all out's tonight, so is it tonight or is it tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
All right, well, I'll have it tomorrow.
Yeah, and tomorrow I will be doing a live stream reaction. Anyone who wants to join me on that stream, feel free on NerdTube. We're going to be, just streaming it. It's going to crash a million times because obviously I don't have Fight TV and all that kind of stuff, but going to watch it and see how we do. So anyone who wants to join me for that, feel free. Okay. So I think, we've covered everything. Things are very interesting moving forward, both in a bad way for WWE and a really, really good way for AEW. But obviously now we're going to be talking about a more serious subject.
Yep, and for that.
And just going to wait for William to join us in the stream.
And I was going to say,
there we go. Okay.
I would like to say we'd like to go ahead and dedicate this show to Daphne Shannon, who passed away a few days ago. It was very unfortunate with what happened to her. I'm kind of familiar with Daphne. I watched a little bit of WCW during that time, the Scream Queen. I thought that she was really, really good for what she did. But, you know, it's unfortunate that our heroes die literally every day. And, you know, you got to always check in with your loved ones because you never know, you know.
Yeah. So, William, if you'd like to explain what happened for those that may not be aware.
Yeah, for those who may not be aware, what happened was Shannon Sproul, aka Daphne, she posted a live video to Instagram where she threatened self-harm. She basically gave a list of things that she wanted left to people. She said that she wanted her brain donated to the University of Boston to research into CTE. And she was clutching a small pistol during this whole time. Now, it was absolutely heartbreaking to see. I do not advise anybody to watch it. I think it's a damning indictment on any pro wrestling news website that's posting the footage of it. It's not something anyone needs to see. And the wrestling community at large reached out to Daphne to try and help her. There were people desperately trying to get her address, trying to get people who were close by to go and check in on her welfare, get the police to show up and do a wellness check. Unfortunately, by the time they got there, it was too late. And unfortunately, she had passed away. She committed suicide. And it was an absolute fucking tragedy. I shed a few tears when I heard the news because Daphne, this goes just beyond what she did in the ring. I mean, Daphne was one of the fucking standouts in the final days of WCW. She was one of the things that you loved to. She was one of the characters that you loved to watch. As her shirt said at the time, "I hunger for Unger," and I'll admit it. I was a big mark for Daphne, not just in WCW, but I liked watching some of the stuff in the Indies when I was able to get hold of any DVDs or videotapes that she was on. We'll get to TNA in just a moment as well, our time there. But Daphne, ironically enough, Daphne was in something that I thoroughly enjoyed before she ever got into pro wrestling. I'm going to come across as a dork for saying this, but when I was a kid, I really loved Santa Claus the movie. And Shannon Sproul actually had an uncredited scene in that when she was a small child.
Oh, right.
Yeah, there's a small scene where she's a bratty girl at a ballet class, and that was her in an uncredited scene. But again, Shannon was somebody who, in and out of the ring. I mean, when WCW closed down, she was let go about a month before the company shut its doors. She was let go as like a cost-cutting measure. The WWE didn't pick her up at the time. But she decided she was going to work her butt off in the Indies. She was going to keep training. She took whatever booking she could get. She got better and better to the point WWE actually gave her a developmental deal for a brief period. Unfortunately, it only lasted about 5 months, and I'm going to say that's probably down to the fact that around about that time, that was when Johnny Ace was, hiring women out of lingerie catalogs and bikini catalogs. And obviously, Shannon Sproul was a very beautiful woman. Let's be blunt. She was incredibly beautiful, but probably not got the look that Johnny Ace was into. Because you look at all the women he hired around about that time, it was all roughly the same look. Generic, blonde, big breasts, etc. Shannon Sproul obviously didn't fit the part. And she quit wrestling very, very briefly at that period. She even sold her boots to Mickie James, who she was rooming with at OVW. Now, when she decided to return to wrestling, she returned as a manager, and then she started wrestling again. Again, she worked her fucking ass off. She got better and better and better and better. And I was so happy at the time when TNA hired her. When they brought her in 2009, I didn't agree with Sarah Palin's skit. I didn't thoroughly enjoy those at all, really. But I was happy to see
Daphne getting a fucking break on international TV again. And it wound up
She
being
did really well in those
it
segments.
wound up being almost the best and the worst thing to happen to her because those 3 years ended her career. Because all the physical pain and shit that she went through, getting thrown off stages, getting thrown through barbed wire boards, and being told, oh, we're going to cover your medical bills, and they didn't. Again, she's why I say Dixie Carter was Ian Rotten with a trust fund.
Yeah.
Daphne should have been the Knockouts champion at least one occasion. She didn't get the belt. Figure 4, Brian Alvarez brought up the fact that they put her against a woman named Rosie Lotolov. And Rosie Lotolov was a graduate from the Team 3D Academy. She wasn't really that good. She actually injured Shannon in her first match.
1 second, Jose.
Yo,
That feedback is coming from you, so I'll just mute that. Sorry, thank you, mate. Go on, William.
But yeah, the Shannon got injured in Rosie Lotolov's first match, and it surprised a lot of people despite the fact that Rosie Lotolov legitimately cracked Daphne's sternum, they hired her to TNA. Now, to her credit, Daphne never fucking held a grudge over that, because she knew, well, this kind of thing does happen. People do get injured in wrestling, and to her credit as well, I can't remember what her gimmick name was, but she wound up being signed to NXT. Rosie Lotolov dropped over 100 pounds in weight. She got better and better as a worker to the point where WWE signed her and had her on deal at NXT. But there's so many stories floating around from men, but mostly women in the pro wrestling business about how Shannon was a mentor. She effectively, I don't know what would be the best way to describe it. She was almost like a mother to some, or more like a big sister to a lot of people, young women who came up in the business. People like Bayley, people like Nikki Cross. I mean, there's clips of her doing podcasts. There was one recently where it was her, Mickey James, SoCal Val, and Victoria, and they were talking about one of the signings to NWA Empower. Somebody was getting booked on that show. Shannon burst into tears of absolute joy. She wasn't bitter. She wasn't, thinking, oh, why am I not getting booked in this thing? Because Shannon was pretty much out of the business. Again, those 3 years in TNA unfortunately ended her in-ring career. And she was about 5-10 years ahead of the game.
Yeah, she was.
I mean, the kind of matches she was having, the WWE women's division at the time could only dream of. I mean, you talk about groundbreaking matches, go watch her match in TNA, First Blood against Tara for the TNA Knockouts title. That was groundbreaking. That was something different. And all the stories that have been coming out, again, it's much like Brody Lee or Bobby Eaton or Owen Hart. It's a case of nobody has got a bad story to tell about her. It's always a case of she was just such a kind-hearted person. She was a proper sweetheart that the wrestling business really, truly didn't deserve. It's an absolute tragedy, the fact that she got to the point where she was so low that she felt she had no other way out. I'm so happy that WWE has done the right thing. They've made mental health services available to all of their talent and everybody working in the company because of how devastating a loss this was. This was really absolutely tragic. There were so many people reaching out to her and asking, please don't do anything stupid. And unfortunately, it was too late. I don't know what went through her mind. I don't know what got her to the point where she felt she had no other option. I know she had been talking about she had physical health issues because, again, her time in TNA, where she had to sue for workman's comp. Workman's comp is what it would be called over there, in order to get her medical bills covered. Again, it ended her in-ring career. She lived in a lot of pain physically.
Yeah.
I really don't know what more to say. I mean, Shannon Spruill was a beautiful woman, both inside and out. Again, it's an absolute tragedy that she was not a huge star. She really should be. I mean, if she had been in the 2013 WWE Women's Division against people like AJ Lee, Caitlyn, and taking on young up-and-coming talent, people she knew like Bayley or Paige or Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch. I mean, those would have been fantastic matches. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. WWE didn't show any interest in her. The only other company that could have shown any interest in her and pushed her to the moon, they weren't interested in giving her that push. And unfortunately, they were more interested in, well, what can we do to maybe just make people go, ooh, ah, and have no regard for her physical health.
Yeah.
I mean, even other things they made her do, like for example, there was a horrible segment on there on TNA where they did a lockbox challenge. It was a 4-way lockbox match. I don't know if you guys ever saw it.
I did.
It was Angelina Love, Victoria, Daphne, and I think the fourth one was Velvet Sky. And the 4 lock boxes, one of them had the women's title in it, one had Tara's Spider, one had a title shot, a contract for a title shot, and a fourth, you had to go to the ring and do a striptease. Again, Vince Russo's booking for you.
Vince Russo.
And of course, Daphne, looking extremely awkward and uncomfortable, went down and performed until there was the bait and switch, and Lacey Von Erich decided to jump in instead. I really don't know what more can be said. I would encourage anybody to look at the tributes that people have posted on Twitter, people actually inside the business. There was a lot of love and respect for Daphne. She had a massive impact on the business, particularly in the women's division. People like Nikki Cross have said, look, my gimmick was pretty much inspired by Daphne.
Yeah.
You look at somebody like Rhea Ripley and you can see influences from Daphne there. You can see so much influence that she had on the business. And again, I think this is a case of, this is somebody that the wrestling business didn't deserve. And it chewed up and spat out.
Yeah. Yeah, she did. Thank you, William. That was brilliant. Really, really well put. David,
she's going to be sorely missed, but she's going to be sorely missed by, I think, everybody in the business and also by the fans. This is one that's going to be felt for a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I think with Daphne, and a match that I've heard about over and over again is if you go on Mick Foley's Twitter, he talks about this match with Daphne and this lady, Vicky Lyons, that was originally left dead at the age of 4 because she got run over by a truck and told she'd never walk again, never talk again, never do anything. And she lived to be up to 34 years old and died of a brain injury brought on to a match accidentally by Daphne. But Mick Foley calls that one of the best pieces of art that he's ever seen. He calls that one of the best matches that he's ever seen. Like, people may look at it full of botches, but he calls that art. And
said it was still a miracle.
Yeah, he talked about that in one of his stand-up shows a few years back. And Daphne is one of those that will get the compliment, she was too good for the wrestling business. And that's not something that you'll hear for a lot of people. I mean, you'll hear that about Owen Hart. You'll hear that about, a few other guys. But to get a compliment like that, that means that you are a true class act and that you are a legend. You were Daphne was one of the nicest people to ever grace wrestling. And wrestling, in my opinion, didn't deserve her. She deserves so much more than she actually got. I just want to say thank you, Daphne, for all that you've given to us in your years. And we're going to miss you.
Yeah. Gary?
The first time I saw Daphne was in WCW when she had a storyline with David Flair and Crowbar. And she was a crush, because she was like this like very attractive goth chick. And she used to scream and stuff like that. And then I didn't know what had happened to her because when WCW went by the wayside, I didn't know if WWE were thinking about bringing her in because she had a great look and she had a great persona. You look at people that they retire later, people like Paige and stuff like that. They're obviously, she was obviously a trailblazer for that. But Yeah, I mean, as I said, I remember her TNA bro because I didn't really see her in the ring in WCW. I mean, WCW had kind of a women's division, but it wasn't really an extensive one. Whereas, she was in the TNA one where she had really good matches with Tara and Taylor Wilde and people like that. And I was like, wow, Daphne's a really, really good wrestler. And the only problem was that she'd be thrown around by people like Abyss and stuff like that, and it didn't do good. And there are people who have put out the video that William was talking about with the sorry that I have not watched it and I will not watch it. But as I said, it's really sad because I just wish that she could have got the help that she obviously required. And the thing is that I think it's a note to everybody. If you ever feel like that, or you feel somebody's going to go that way, it's never a bad idea to say, "Hey, this person needs help. We need to intervene," because that person may not thank you that day, but they'll thank you eventually, for sorting them out. And I think that's what we can all learn from this, unfortunately. And I wish that someone could have helped her in a more way that could have saved her life, but unfortunately, maybe she just lost contact with those people.
Yeah. Well, yep. Guys, thank you. That was a wonderful tribute. Yeah, definitely was amazing. I remember her in the last couple of days of last throw of WCW, and then obviously some of her matches in TNA. And yeah, she was a hell of a standout. And obviously after that, I wasn't massively hooked on her at the time. It was just one of those kind of things. But hearing all the stories over the last couple of days, and it's a big loss to the wrestling industry, and the industry does have to do more to kind of help with the aftercare of its wrestlers, have programs in place. Well, I mean, I personally think that counseling and psychologists should be part of the national kind of social care system, the national health system, as well. And it's a shame. It's a shame. She was a massive individual that the wrestling industry lost, and there you go. Another one just left to rot, sadly. And on that note, just like to say, yes, rest in peace, Daphne. Thank you for the memories. And I'm gonna be ending the stream. I want to thank my hosts for joining me, David Hosea, William / Joe Rogan, and of course Gary Living on the Edge, superstar. And thank you all, and join us tomorrow where we'll be doing a live stream reaction to AEW All Out. Thank you all and have a great night. Bye.